When did American history begin? Is it when the United States was founded in 1776, or does it go further back? Let's embark on a journey that will take us thousands of years back to the dawn of American history. Our story begins with the arrival of the first inhabitants of the North American continent, the Native Americans. From Siberia, they crossed the Bering Land Bridge, venturing into the unknown and establishing the roots of what would one day become a global superpower. Fast forward to the 17th century, a significant period in our narrative. The year was 1620 when a ship known as the Mayflower, carrying a group of English Puritans, landed on the shores of what is now Massachusetts. This event marked the establishment of the first English colonies in North America. The settlers drafted the Mayflower Compact, a document that set forth the principles of self-governance and democracy, principles that still resonate in the United States today. Now let's take a leap to 1776, a year that rings a bell in the hearts of Americans. This was the year when 13 British colonies united to declare their independence from the British Crown, giving birth to the nation we now know as the United States of America. The American Revolution, a struggle for liberty and justice, ensued against the might of the British Empire. The victory of the revolutionaries marked the triumph of the belief that all men are created equal, a belief that is enshrined in the Declaration of Independence. So we see that American history is not just a couple of centuries old. It is a rich tapestry woven over thousands of years, with each strand representing an era, an event, a story. From the earliest Native Americans to the founders of the United States, every chapter contributes to the larger narrative of American history. So, while the United States was officially founded in 1776, the history of the land and its people stretches back much further. We must remember this as we continue to explore the fascinating journey of America through its 12 historic eras. The colonial America and Revolution era from 1565 to 1783 was a time of significant change. This period was marked by the establishment of the 13 colonies, which became the seedbed of the future United States. These colonies, each with its distinct character and identity, were the building blocks of the nation we now know. In this era, we also saw the Boston Tea Party, a pivotal act of defiance against British rule. This event sparked the flame of revolution, leading to the Revolutionary War. This war was not merely a battle for independence, but a struggle for the ideals of liberty and self-governance. The American Revolution was a testament to the courage and resilience of the colonists, who stood their ground against a mighty empire. Their victory marked the birth of a new nation, built on the principles of democracy and freedom. This era shaped the foundation of the America we know today. Following the Revolution, a new nation was born. The United States, fresh from its victory against the British, faced the monumental task of defining itself. It was during these formative years that the Constitution, a blueprint for the nation's governance, was carefully crafted and ratified. The Constitution's drafting wasn't without challenges. Disputes arose, compromises were made, and ultimately, a system of government was established that balanced power between the states and the federal government. This delicate dance of power and politics set the stage for the nation's future. Meanwhile, the landscape of America was changing. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 nearly doubled the size of the nation, sparking the beginning of a westward expansion that would continue for decades. This was a time of exploration, of pushing boundaries, and of immense growth. This era was a testament to the resilience and determination of the American people. They not only built a new nation from scratch but also laid the groundwork for what the United States would become. The Civil War era from 1861 to 1865 was one of the darkest times in American history. A nation divided against itself, the war was sparked by deep-rooted issues of states' rights and slavery. The North and South clashed in battles that claimed more lives than any other conflict in American history. In the midst of this turmoil, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in 1862, a monumental decree that declared enslaved people in Confederate-held territories free. This momentous act, however, didn't see immediate realization due to the ongoing war. Tragically, just days after the war's end, President Lincoln fell victim to an assassin's bullet, a brutal end to a leader who had steered the nation through its bloodiest conflict. The Civil War's aftermath left a nation scarred but resilient. The era was a crucible that tested and ultimately strengthened the United States' commitment to liberty and unity. The Civil War era forever changed the course of American history. Following the Civil War, America entered a period of Reconstruction and industrialization. This era, stretching from 1865 to 1889, was a pivotal time in American history, when the nation sought to mend its wounds and rebuild itself. The Reconstruction period aimed to reintegrate the southern states that had seceded and to establish rights for newly freed slaves. It was a time of profound political, social, and economic change, with the passage of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, which collectively abolished slavery, guaranteed equal protection under the law, and secured voting rights regardless of race or color. Simultaneously, the nation was undergoing rapid industrialization. With the expansion of railroads, the growth of factories, and the rise of new industries, America was transforming into a leading economic power. This surge of progress brought both prosperity and challenges, reshaping the social fabric and paving the way for the modern America we know today. This era marked the beginning of a new chapter in American history. The Progressive Era, from 1890 to 1913, was a time of great social and political change. This was the period when America began to look inward, to address the issues within its own borders, and to build a more equitable and just society. Consider the rise of the labor movement. As America industrialized, workers found themselves in often punishing conditions with long hours, low pay, and dangerous work environments. The labor movement sought to address these issues, advocating for fair wages, reasonable hours, and safer working conditions. This era saw the birth of significant labor unions like the American Federation of Labor, which played a crucial role in advocating for workers' rights. Then there was the fight for women's suffrage. Women, who had long been relegated to the domestic sphere, began to assert their rights and demand the franchise. The likes of Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton became household names as they led the charge for women's voting rights. The groundwork they laid during the Progressive Era would eventually lead to the ratification of the 19th Amendment in 1920, granting women the right to vote. And let's not forget the start of the Progressive Movement. This was a diverse and dynamic coalition of reformers, united by their desire to address the social problems caused by industrialization, urbanization, and political corruption. They championed causes ranging from child labor laws to food safety regulations, and from trust busting to the direct election of senators. Key reforms and changes occurred during this era, reshaping the American society and government. The Pendleton Act, for instance, established a federal civil service system that put an end to the rampant patronage in government jobs. The Sherman Antitrust Act sought to curb the power of big business and promote competition. The Progressive Era was a time of significant change and reform, setting the stage for the challenges and triumphs of the 20th century. It was a period that saw America redefining itself, grappling with the issues of the day, and laying the groundwork for a more inclusive and equitable society. With the onset of World War I in 1914, America would once again find itself on the global stage. But before we delve into the world wars, let's take a moment to appreciate the cultural and social explosion that was the Roaring Twenties. This was a time of unprecedented economic prosperity and cultural dynamism. With the advent of jazz music, the flapper culture, and the Harlem Renaissance, America was experiencing a cultural revolution. But it wasn't all glitz and glamour. The 1920s were also marked by prohibition, the rise of organized crime, and a deep divide between urban and rural America. And then, in 1929, the bubble burst. The stock market crashed, marking the beginning of the Great Depression. It was the deepest and longest-lasting economic downturn in the history of the Western industrialized world, and it took a heavy toll on the American people. Unemployment soared, banks failed, and countless Americans were plunged into poverty. The hardships of the Great Depression would shape the nation and its people, leading to significant changes in government policy and popular attitudes. But as we'll see in our next installment, it would also set the stage for a new era of American leadership on the global stage. So, stay tuned as we continue our journey through American history.